I mean, what's wrong with his behavior? But we probably shouldn't say nothing, so tell him off for his behavior. The words spill out of me before I can even think of them. What have I done now to make you angry with me? Nothing. He turns away and I glare as I follow closely behind him. You expect me to believe that? You can't at least look at me when I'm talking to you. I reach out a hand to his elbow and pull him back so that he's facing me. Rod. But the words die in my throat when I see the expression on his face. His face is red and he refuses to look me in the eyes. My surprise causes me to release him. Rod quickly turns around and begins to walk away. I'm left to stare dumbly after him. What is wrong with him? Normally he's not afraid to speak his mind. I frown as I feel a dull ache throbbing somewhere deep in my chest. What is this? Why do I feel sad? Normally Rod's distance does not make me feel like this. And yet now, am I really so sad that he does not want to speak with me? I shake my head and take a deep breath to still my mind. It's better not to think about it. They really have us falling for a step, bro. Chapter 8, the ball, dang. It's the day of the ball and I'm waiting for Emmeline to finish her last dance rehearsal. The lesson was over an hour ago, but Emmeline remains here to continue practicing the steps. Meanwhile, I'm preoccupied with the thoughts of Rod's curse. I cannot believe that Rod traded his voice for a title, so the reason the king was able to find Ophelia is because of Rod. It is a little difficult to wrap my head around the implication, but one thing bothers me. Rod told me why he has the curse, but he gave no explanation as to how to break it. How did it go in the original fairy tale? Emmeline finishes up the last steps. It's a kiss of the last steps of the routine before walking over to me. I hand her the glass of water I was holding for her. Thank you, Z. Emmeline must notice my curiosity because she stops to look at me quizzically. Something the matter? I read a little bit of the fairy tale, but never finished it. Can you tell me the whole story of the Little Mermaid? The Little Mermaid? Emmeline takes a seat on one of those chairs bordering the throne room and gestures for me to take the one opposite her. Telling a fairy tale is always a good way to wind down. Once upon a time there was a mermaid that fell in love with a handsome prince. One day when she swam to the surface of the ocean to find him, she saw that the prince was celebrating his birthday on the grandest ship in the kingdom. The Little Mermaid was captivated by the human party and stayed to watch. Then suddenly a violent storm hit and the prince was thrown from the ship into the ocean. I mean, this is really starting to sound like the Disney movie, so. The Little Mermaid saved the prince and took him safely to shore, but she could not stay long. She eventually had to return to the ocean and leave him on land. This is similar to Viorica's rescue. The Little Mermaid was so in love with the prince that she went to see a witch who offered to trade her a potion that would turn her mermaid's tail into legs. They struck a deal. The mermaid would sacrifice her beautiful voice for legs so that she could live with the prince on land. So in Rod's case, he traded away his voice to become a prince. However, the sea witch gave the Little Mermaid a warning and said that if she wasn't able to make the prince fall in love with her, there would be consequences. Consequences? Yes, namely if the prince fell in love and married someone else, the mermaid's heart would break and she would dissolve in the sea foam. There it is. Brothers Grimm. I cannot help but recoil. My expression must betray my horror because Emily quickly shakes her head. See, like, if that's the end, like, why does he not want to... he just wants people to be happy, but he's gonna turn to the phone. There's no need to be worried. Rod has said that his curse is different from the fairy tale. Oh, thank God. Can you believe him? Emmeline shrugs her helplessly as she puts down her now empty glass of water. The fairy tale curse always twists the original fairy tale, right? Besides, not as if Rod traded his voice for legs, and I've never heard of a cursed person that dies because they cannot break their curse. That may be true, but Emmeline does not know what Rod traded his voice for. She does not know that he did it to become a prince for Viorica. Rod is already hiding things from her. Is it possible that Rod will die the day Viorica marries Desmond? Later that day, I find Rod in the dining hall. He appears to be inspecting the seating arrangement for the night's banquets. He glanced up briefly to look at me before returning his attention to the placards with the guest names on them. What is it? I've been looking for you all morning. I'm distracted from what I am about to say when I notice Rod switching the position of two placards I found as I catch the name on one of them. He's moving Viorica's place at the table. He's trying to make sure she's as far away from him as possible. He's such a little boy. Surely you have better things to do than staying here. What happens if you cannot break your curse? Rod's movements stutter before he shakes his head sharply. That is something you do not need to know. I'm scared. Plead with him. Something aches deep in my chest with Rod's coldness. Please. Rod startles so strongly that he almost drops the placard he's holding. Please tell me. We've been partners for months now. But I've rarely... Yes, I know that it is an unusual partnership and that most of our helping each other has been subtle, but I'm only one good deed away from breaking my curse, while you seem to be no closer to breaking your curse than when we started. I will do whatever I can to help with your curse, Rod. So please, let me help you. Silence falls. Moments later, Rod sighs and looks away from me. Some unspeakably sad emotion shines through his eyes. What if I wanted your help, Z? There's nothing you can do. Dread settles in the pit of my stomach at Rod's words. Could I be right? Will Rod actually die if he does not manage to break his curse? Emmeline told me the story of the Little Mermaid. She said that the mermaid dies if the prince marries someone else. Rod, when Viorica marries Desmond, will you? My voice trails off when I hear the sound of the door behind us. Is it Ophelia or the king? Rod rushes forward and grabs me before I can glance back at the door. Oh, we're doing the hiding thing! This is such a trope in like fanfics and stuff, but I'm always a sucker for it. Ow. I become aware of the weight holding me down to the floor. The impact of the ground against my head blurs my vision, making it impossible for me to see what is happening at first. Am I underneath the dining table? I struggle to try and sit up, but the weight pushes down on me again, forcing me to be still. Quiet. Rod, why did you push me underneath the table? I'm unable to ask him aloud when the sound of the footsteps silences me. I cannot help but remember what Sir Mithras was saying about rumors. If Rod and I were seen alone together by the servants, the rumors will no doubt get worse. But why is Rod doing this? I stay quiet as the people that entered the dining hall begin to talk. How strange for this place to be empty at this time of day. There's a pause and then another voice speaks up. You better have a good news for me, Mithras. Yo, I knew they were working together. It's totally obvious that Sir Alcaster is the witch. Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithras? Rod's hands tighten on my shoulder. Everything is as you requested. Wait, no, that's wrong. Everything is as you requested, Sir Alcaster. There should be no issues. There better not be. You disappointed me before, Mithras. I would be careful not to try my patience again. Yes, Sir Alcaster. Sir Mithras sounds oddly subservient. But why? The two of them are both ranked equally, and neither of them should have to answer to anyone other than the king, unless Sir Alcaster truly is the witch and is forcing Sir Mithras to obey him with a spell. A few minutes after I leave. I'll wait a few minutes after I leave. We should not be seen together. I do not hear Sir Mithras respond, but I can hear Sir Alcaster leaving the room. Sir Mithras sighs out, but is otherwise silent when he leaves the room after a few moments. I exhale fully as the door finally closes behind Sir Mithras. This is bad. I was so engrossed in Sir Alcaster and Sir Mithras' conversation that I only just now realized that Rod is hovering over me. Oh, the cheesiness. Hey, are you alright? Are you hurt? You look a little... Rod suddenly pauses and he notices our position. He stares at me for a few moments, eyes widen. I'm surprised they didn't have like a shot where it showed both of us, but you know, whatever. He scrambles out from underneath the dining table, and by the time I do the same, he is standing far away from me, his gaze fixed on the wall. He's bright red. It would be funny if I weren't sure I was the same color. Rod clears his throat. It seems that Sir Alcaster really is the witch. He has the ability to make Sir Mithras obey him. Lady Parfait should be told immediately. Rod turns on his heels to leave the dining room. Rod, wait! What? This is urgent, Princess. I can't just... When Viorica marries Desmond, will you die? Rod pauses for a moment, but I can tell from his pained expression that he will not speak. You're running out of time, Rod. My eyes flip between Sebi and Rod. What does that mean? Nothing. He turns away from me once again and starts walking away. Rod. There must be something in my voice that makes Rod stop because he turns to look at me. Please stop running away from this. What would knowing the answer achieve, Z? Though Rod's words are harsh and his tone is soft, there's nothing anyone can do. Leave it alone, Z. It's for the best. I cannot help but get mad at Rod's dismissive tone. I move toward him, frowning. How can you say something like that? You are not the only person that would be affected if you keep refusing to do anything to break your curse. Can you imagine what your death would be to your sister, to your mother? Losing you would destroy them. Rod's face is suddenly inches away from mine. He lifts his hands to the wall behind me, caging me in. His face is flushed with anger, but the look in his eyes is tormented. My family has been dealing with the consequences of my action for the majority of my life. To think that I don't know what effect my curse has on the people closest to me. Besides, I don't want to involve you in this too. His voice is a whisper, but I can still hear his words. Rod. Rod pushes me away from me and stalks off as I stare after him. He says that, but that he still does nothing to try and break his curse. I do not understand him at all. What is stopping him? Rod is absent from the palace for the rest of the day, and returns only once the sun has set to prepare for the ball. So is this the day before the ball, or is this the night of the ball? I have not been able to talk to him since, but I assume that he has been to the Marchand to tell Delora and Parfait about our suspicions of Sir Alcaster being a witch. I hope they come with an effective plan for dealing with him. The palace is not safe so long as he is here. The ball is just about to start that evening, and I have been asked to make sure none of the guests are lost in wandering the halls. I've been walking around for a while, directing any late guests in the right direction. Okay, so the ball is tonight. That should be everyone. But as I turn the corner, I notice two people lingering by a column. Excuse me, the throne room is... I pause when I look more closely at the two men in front of me. I recognize one of them instantly. I honestly can't tell if that's the knight or the other guy. I think it's the knight. What is Sir Alcaster doing outside of the throne room, and who is that man he's with? Z. Sir Alcaster gestured me toward him, and I approached warily. This is Varg. He is one of the guests for the ball. Varg sweeps aside his cape as he bows, and I curtsy and dip my head to hide my expression. I have not heard of a Varg, and why would he be bowing to a mere maid? Also, why is he wearing such an elaborate costume and mask? This is not a masquerade ball. If Varg is an acquaintance of Sir Alcaster, there's no telling what or who he truly is. Varg is one of the suitors for Princess Emmeline. Oh my god, he's like scheming to have his son marry the princess. Would you please escort him to the throne room? I'll be along shortly. Varg's politeness is even more suspicious. Of course, Sir Alcaster. I meet Varg's gaze briefly and cannot help but frown at the way he is smirking at me. This way. Varg and I make our way toward the throne room. I cannot help but feel wary of the fact that he is following behind me where I cannot see him. If the maids are this lovely, the princess must be truly beautiful. Varg laughs and I grit my teeth at the sound. What? It was meant as a compliment. There's no need to look at me like that. Varg looks at me curiously. The maid's not allowed to speak in this place? I have nothing to say. Not the most cheerful person on staff, are you? Thankfully, the doors to the throne room appear as soon as we turn a corner, and I do not have to come up with a response to his words. We are here. I gesture towards the throne room. I move to leave, but Varg's voice stops me. You should at the very least escort me inside and introduce me to the princess, don't you think? Isn't that what a maid should do? Technically, that is the announcer's job, but Varg came so late, he probably already missed the introductions. I wouldn't want to think badly of any of the servants at the palace. I take a deep breath to calm myself down before turning toward the doors. Follow me. I can tell the moment I step into the room that the official introductions have already passed. Most of the guests have already begun to mingle and scatter across the throne room as the band sets in. I'm excited to see Emmeline in her dress. No one notices when I walk into the throne room in front of Varg. I do not trust Varg, not if he is associated with Sir Alcaster. I might have time to warn someone about him while he is distracted, but who? Oh, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard! Okay, my thought process here is that right away, I would want to warn Emmeline because, well, he's going to be the one mingling with her and all that stuff. And I know she would not ask for more info and just trust me right away because that's the type of person Emmeline is. But Rod has more info. He knows why I wouldn't trust that guy. And he's the love interest. So we gotta go with Rod, right? My eyes fall on Rod. I notice that he's leaning against one of the walls, away from the crowd. So I head directly for him, moving quickly so that Varg is not right behind me. Rod. Rod frowns at me as I come to stand in front of him. What? There's a man here called Varg. I think Sir Alcaster brought him. Sir Alcaster? Apparently Varg is one of the suitors for Emmeline's hand. Rod glances past me at Varg, his eyes narrowed. Is that him? Is that Varg? When I turned back and followed his line of sight, I almost gasped in shock. Varg is bent over one of Emmeline's hands, clearly having just pressed a kiss to the back of it. I should have kept him away from Em. But Ron and I are not too far away so we can hear him clearly, but Thermu was already hushed at the sight of the crown princess being so boldly dressed. Okay, we feel